doing today?
Hey, Sean, I'm good. Good to see you again.
Man, so it's been wonderful. I haven't seen you since the conference that you were
Yeah.
able to do a keynote for us for.
Yes, that was fun. It's good to
Yeah.
be, back on this platform again. I hope you guys have been well.
We've been well, and always well when we're talking to you. So Kechi, just to kick it off, right, for
Yes.
people that may or may not know you, how would people describe you as an individual?
I think most people would describe me as um happy, always active and always kind of optimistic, love to laugh. Um maybe a little, maybe determined, I guess that would be a word, hopefully, that they use, you know just being someone who perseveres, through whatever, tries her best to persevere through, endure through whatever it is that life throws at her. And just, having this attitude of, it's got to get done at some point. It's just got to get done, something like that. At least that's how I hope they see me. But I know for sure they'll say I'm pretty happy and, laughing all the time.
So when you say things got to get done, are you like
Mm.
a action oriented?
Mm.
You just get it done. Like is
it's
that
it's like, it's more like, whatever the obstacles might be, if there's a goal that has to be accomplished, it just has to be like, there's, whether it's like, whether I'm under like a time constraint, it doesn't matter if it's a time constraint or maybe oh, typically that's what it is. If I'm under like pressure or any other kind of pressure aside from time, it doesn't make a difference. Like, whatever needs to be done regardless of what the obstacles are. So I will do whatever I have to accomplish that thing within the, like, whenever it's needed to be accomplished, basically. It's just, I think it's something, it's just from, mostly from, like, experience with school and college and high school, just, having this attitude that, if I procrastinate and I have like a deadline to something and I procrastinate to the last minute, like, it doesn't mean I'm not gonna half-ass it still.
yeah.
I'm gonna have to still do my best, whatever the time frame I have is, and I'm gonna deliver the best to the best of my abilities. So I just kind of carried that mentality into my regular life, I suppose, and that's
Hmm.
something that I think has helped me stay on track with whatever goals I put in front of myself, something like that.
Yeah, yeah. And have you always been like that? Like, when you talk about perseverance and having
Mm,
that happy and that type of attitude.
yeah, that type of attitude. I think so. I think my mom would attest to that. I think she would say that that's something that I've typically always had inside me, but
Okay.
I never really had to develop or really put into action until after the accident, when I faced a lot of, like, um, challenges, a lot more challenges, in life than before. So that was when that trait kind of started coming more into play in my life, I think.
And then the accident you're referring to is the plane crash back in
Yes, plane
2005,
crash.
where
Yes.
now you're the lone survivor, but two of you survived. Um,
Hmm.
so from that incident, right, which is
Yes.
a very life changing incident, coming out of that,
Mm.
what are, like, confidence wise, just being able to ground yourself,
Mm.
like what are some things that you have done, and that you feel like, even as you mentioned how people would describe you today with perseverance, like,
Yeah.
how did that all come about?
Yeah. Um, Honestly, the confidence to just live my life as authentically as possible, I would say a lot of it comes from my faith. I say this because I had a point in my treatment where I had to decide what my scars would mean to me, the role
Mm-hmm.
that they would play in my life, and how much priority I was going to give them with respect to the control they would have over the things that I did, over how I was going to live my life after the accident, after I left the hospital and was back in, society. So I had to decide what role they would play. Was I going to make decisions based on how I looked? Was I going to dress based on that? Was I going to interact with people based on that? Was I going to do anything really based on that? And I knew that if I decided to go that route, then it would never end. I would always and forever make decisions based on my appearance and how people perceive me as well. But more importantly, how I perceive myself. So I couldn't start with that premise of making choices based on this, skin with these scars. I had to decide what kind of person I wanted to be despite these scars. So if I wanted to live a full life, if I wanted to fulfill my promise that I had made to myself to live in a way that would make those that passed away proud, I couldn't do it if I lived in a way that made it obvious to the world and to myself that I was self-conscious about my scars. So I knew I had to eradicate whatever thinking would lead me down that path and focus instead on the way that God saw me as opposed to how the world saw me. And he sees all of us perfectly and wonderfully made, and it doesn't have anything to do with our skin or how we look on the outside, but everything to do on who we are as people on the inside. So I just had to kind of focus all my energy and my understanding of my love for myself to be everything on the inside of me and see myself through his eyes. And once I was able to kind of align myself in that way, then I just felt no need to hide. I felt no need to hide what he had created.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, my life is a gift, a miracle, and I can't live it in shame. That this is a life he saved out of against so many odds. So all these things just kind of played together to allow me to feel like it's okay to live my life as authentically as possible, as true to myself as possible. And that would not be living in the shadow of my scars. So, I just kind of had that mentality and that approach with my faith, that relationship with God that I was still just developing, but understanding the importance of that role that he would have in my life. And then also my support system that he put around me, people that reinforce that thinking and let me know it's okay to think this way. It's good
Mm.
to think this way. Live your life, do your thing, be you. And so all those things culminated in this Kechi that you're seeing here today, really person who just didn't want to live life in a way that would be so limited. So that's I think all those things kind of came together and allowed me to just not really develop any new confidence, but live as confidently as I always did. Scars or no scars. So yeah.
I think so. So one thing that you mentioned was support system, and even in
Oh
life,
yeah.
as we're doing our different type of endeavors and ventures out,
Hmm.
that support system is strong and
Oh,
very important to have that sense of
most
community.
definitely.
For
Hmm.
you, and having that support system around you, is it something that just kind of you had to choose what things you needed to have around your life to really be able
Hmm.
to push forward, or it was
Mm.
just people that were just around you just happened to be that perfect
Yeah.
support system?
I believe it's a bit of both. I would say that I believe that the kind of person you are attracts
Mm.
similar people. You attract the kind of attitude that you put out there into the world. So that's how we have friends. Whatever energy you're putting out there, whatever personality you're putting out there, that's the kind of crowd you're going to attract. Like-minded people who think like you. So I think it might have a lot also to do with actually it's almost like a cycle. I was born into this family and I had this amazing friend group that my family has always been that support of being who you are. They've always been supportive of just being yourself and not allowing the world to influence the way that you see yourself. So having that background already helped going into everything that happened after the accident. So that was a reason why I was even able to like think in the way that I was able to think in the time that it mattered most, how I saw myself. And then on top of that, they were there still in that hard time for me as well, the hardest time in my life, supporting me and reinforcing what they already taught me from when I was a kid. So I think they helped really form my base understanding of how um how you should approach life. And then when that understanding helped me in the hardest time of my life, they were there to help me reinforce it. So it was just like a cycle, really. They helped me and I took that help and developed who I was, and then they continue to help me to see that this is the way to be. So I want to say that that support system wasn't something that magically happened. It's something definitely that I had to make a choice that this was how I wanted to see myself. Because even no matter how much you're raised, at the end of the day, there are other influences out there.
Yeah.
So it could have gone either way. I could have felt that, I don't want to go out there. I don't, and no matter what they said to me, it may not have made a difference. But I feel like God just put the right people around me for sure, for sure. From the beginning, from even before the accident happened, knowing that this was something I would have to face in my life. And I feel like that's what it was really. So it's less about just happening to have the right people, and more like choosing to choosing to continue believing what they'd already taught me to believe,
Mm.
and then allowing them to be there for me, because it's a two-way street. People can be there for you as much as you want, but if you're not letting them in, if you're not giving them access, then they're just going to be hovering around you. But I feel like I was open enough to allow them to influence me in the right way.
Yeah.
And so yeah.
And then like that influence, right? Because I mean, I'm a believer that also like the confidence that we have is very directly related to the people that we surround ourselves with around. Or
Agreed.
yeah, so the fact that we are able to do certain things, it's like that positive reinforcement of like, you
Yes.
are this, you can do this, right? This is who you are.
Yes.
This is how I see you.
That's true. Yeah.
One of the things that you've said is
Mm.
around the fact that, being a burn survivor and
Mm.
walking and people seeing you and then
Yeah.
staring at you, and
Hmm.
even if people are subconsciously doing it, like they're doing it and you recognize it, but the
Yeah.
fact
Yeah.
that you said that you embrace it, and then also like you're just very confident in your skin, and
Mm.
I think that's wonderful, and I think that
Thank
confidence
you.
exuberates. And the fact that I've met you, I know that's a true testament.
Oh,
So,
thank
so
you.
the one thing I
I
want to kind of
appreciate it.
wrap around is around
Yes.
even people that aren't burn survivors, right? That confidence doesn't always
Exactly.
live within people, right?
That's true.
What can you say to kind of help build that confidence so that
The
we can just do
confidence.
whatever we want to do?
Yes. Let me see. I feel like we all have the capacity for it. I
Mm,
do. I feel like we all have it. But different factors allow us to access it at different times in our lives. Or not, as the case may be. You know, um if you're someone who you're considered, let me you think of yourself as an introvert. You're shy. You don't really like confrontation. You're more passive, in the way you respond to anything, to issues or to just any kind of stimulus out there in the world. Then you might come across as having confidence as less confidence than someone else who is the complete opposite of you in
right.
personality. But it's really not about, that's just the way that the world kind of determines, like, there's a boxes the world kind of puts people in. Confidence is not about like your personality. It's about whatever it is that allows you to be your authentic self regardless of who you are around and where you are. And I think that we all have the capacity to access that confidence. But a lot has to be said about the kind of energy that we surround ourselves with. If we have people around us who are not always blindly encouraging you, but also not putting you down. It's more
Mm,
about authentic people who will tell you the truth, regardless of what it is that you want to hear. It's not about having people who are just constantly giving you, feeding you positivity, like, senselessly,
right.
even when what you're doing may not be the best thing. Live your life, do you. It's not about that. It's about those who will call you. That person who's encouraging you should also be able to call you out and be like, look, what you did, that was not cool, or I think you're doing this, or do you want to talk about this? Because I feel like, you want people who love you for, you want to surround yourself with people who love you for who you are, and not who the world feels like you should be or that we
Hmm.
should be. So I think that's what the key is, having those genuine people who will genuinely tell you if something is good or bad, who always have your best interests and will not always blindly encourage you. So I think when you have these kind of people around you, it gives you a much clearer picture of not just who you are, but what you project to the world. So you have a much clearer picture of yourself through someone else's eyes. And I think that's also how growth happens too. So when you have a clear picture of who you are, then you know where your faults are, where your flaws are, where your strengths are, and just the more intimate knowledge you have of yourself, the more self-assured you get. And then that's how confidence just gradually gets built. So I think that's really what it is. I think there's so one thing would be the people you have around you, the energy they feed you. And then another thing with confidence is, it's something that it's directly tied to like how much you love yourself. And when I
Mm,
say love yourself, I mean how much you accept who you are,
right.
you know? So how much you accept the way that you are, the strengths that you have, the weaknesses you have, the things that people might feel like you should feel bad about, the things that people might bully you about or tease you about. Oftentimes, at least from my experience, those are things that it's those unique things, those things that make you an individual, that oftentimes your strength, your purpose can come from. So when someone tries to make you feel bad about something that makes you something unique, once you've embraced that thing that's unique about you, you take the power from them. They can't make you feel bad about what you've accepted for yourself. So like for instance, people will say mean things about my scar. They can say anything they want, and they will. We don't live in a world that's all positive. But the way I see my scars has, I'm in a place where it doesn't matter what they say. I have an understanding about what these scars mean to me, and and you can't use that angle to make me feel bad about myself.
Right. Right.
Because I've already accepted these scars as a part of who I am now. They're not something to be ashamed of or to be hidden. So because of that, I've taken the power away from anyone who may want to make me feel bad about that. And I feel like the more you grow that self assurance and when the more you embrace yourself and who you are and everything about you, then the more confident you are to live your life authentically. So I think something like that.
Yeah, no, that's
If
wonderful. I
that
mean,
makes sense.
I
Yeah.
think around, I mean, loving yourself, I think is something that a lot of us take for granted, because
Hmm.
if you're not confident in your own skin and who you are, how do you
Hmm.
expect others to kind of treat you with that
Others,
type of
yeah.
respect?
Yeah, the
Right.
way you perceive yourself oftentimes,
This,
it's the way that it influences how other people see you
mm-hmm.
and how they perceive you as well. So yeah, if I walk around and my scars are obviously something I'm extremely self-conscious about, I feel like when I meet new people, I'm not letting them see anything past that. I'm not, because it's a two-way street of communication and meeting a person and knowing a person. If I am obviously self-conscious and all I can think about is just covering myself up, then I've set up a shield, and that's all you're ever going to know about me. But when a person meets me, I also have a responsibility to let them see beyond that, because I am aware that I don't look, conventional. So I don't force myself to be open and all that, but I just come to you as I am and hope that you can see beyond that. And typically, in my experience so far, it's just we meet and there might be that first, walking around eggshells, not really walking on eggshells, not really sure what my triggers might be. But then over time with conversation, you find out that, I'm just a person. So I feel like, there's also that, the shields that we put up around ourselves based on how we feel about ourselves. Also, that can influence our confidence as well.
Yeah, yeah, no. And then I think from what you're saying though, is this a similar message that when you're talking to other burn survivors that you're giving them, or how do you really get them to be comfortable, confident, and be comfortable in their
Mm.
skin?
I think one of the really amazing things that has happened with the platform AGT provided me was the ability to reach way more burn survivors than I've ever been able to before. And that's obviously a big passion of mine, to allow other burn survivors specifically to see, quite literally through my example, that there is life to look forward to
Yeah,
after all this. There's life after your accident, there's life after the surgeries, after the hospital. It's not going to be this way forever. And I feel like it coming from someone who obviously has gone through what they've gone through. You can see it. When it's just a more trustworthy mouthpiece, I suppose.
yeah.
When you see someone who looks like you telling you that everything's going to be okay. So I want to be that example for them. And I go out there and I show them, hopefully, that, you know, you're not only going to, you survived what you went through already. That's why you're here getting treatment. But you're not only going to survive, you don't only have to look forward to surviving. You can thrive. You can
Thrive.
still live a great life even after what you've gone through. And it's hard to see, when you're in it. And I'm someone who obviously knows that because I've been in it, and people told me it would be okay. But now that I'm on the other side, I can see for sure that that's true. And so I want people who are still in that place where I remember being to see me and know that there is life to look forward to, that's cheerful and good and fun and happy, a life where you're pursuing what you want to do, you know, despite what happened to you. So I feel like that's something that platform allowed me to share that message primarily with burn survivors, showing them through my example that, you know, there's a lot more life to look forward to, and it's a good life. You know, it's a good life. So yeah, it's definitely a message that I also give them, I think.
And then, so from AGT, America's Got Talent, for those of you that aren't
Yes.
familiar with it, so Kechi, in what, 2017, you were a finalist, correct?
Yes.
All right. So here's my question, right? Personal question, right?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
you talk about this confidence, and America's Got Talent is a huge platform. Going into it, nervous, or like,
Oh,
how
for
did you
sure.
overcome that?
Oh no, I mean, yes, confidence, yeah, that's all great and everything, but like no, in that moment I was a mess. Like I was super nervous, my heart was pounding. And the funny thing is, you know, it's ironic really because, you know, being who I am, I was like, hey, you know, let's just go into this and see what happens. You know, I was just my normal confident self, like it's gonna be whatever happens, happens. You know, we're gonna be
Yeah.
it's good. We're gonna be fine. But then the second I stepped out there and I stepped on that X and I was in front of those judges and the audience and everything, it hit me like, oh my God, I'm actually gonna be singing and then people are gonna let me know if it's good or not. Like this has actually never happened before.
Singing in front of
What am I doing
millions.
here? Literally, it hit me at the worst time, like right there. So I had no time to prepare. I thought I was fine until I wasn't. And it was extremely nerve-wracking, but they were so supportive and kind, and they were very patient, you know. I just feel like it could that audition could have gone south so easily, but they were very they just kind of were they accommodated me,
Yeah.
you know, and understood that, you know, I was nervous, and they gave me, so what you don't see it, like what they didn't show was the fact that like I sang the song the first time, but I was going too fast because I couldn't hear the music
Mm,
because my heart was pounding so loud. So they cut the music, they stopped me, Simon stopped me, and they were like, "Are you okay? Are you nervous?" And I was like, I'm just a little nervous." And they were like, "Okay, someone get her some water from backstage." They got me some water. I took a sip of water, took a few deep breaths, and then Simon was like, "You know, just cut the music and let her just sing a cappella." And so I started singing again a cappella, and then the audience was like clapping along with me and helping me out. And then everything just was okay. And then I
wow.
sang, and then that's pretty much what you guys see on TV. So I was extremely nervous, like make no mistake. I mean, that was definitely one of the most nerve-wracking moments of my life. But I was very lucky to be on a show that apparently is very nice. I didn't realize that, you know, and you know, they treated me really well and helped me develop my confidence. So, you know, I learned that, you know, confidence is it comes in all shapes and sizes, really. You know, there's that one you can have in yourself as a human being. And then there's a whole different one when it comes to like, you know, your career, your talent, your gift, your job, what you're passionate about. And so I learned like kind of the hard way almost, that there's a different confidence that comes with um, sharing a gift or what you
Hmm.
feel is a talent with the world with um, as much self assurance as possible. And AGC helped me develop that in a really great way in a very short amount of time, too. So, yeah, that's something I'm still struggling with, honestly. Confidence to just go out there and sing with no hesitation. But as the years pass, I think I'm getting a little better more
Yeah.
and more.
You actually, with what you're saying, the first thing that came to my mind was around that, we all have some sense of nervousness in the things that we're doing, right? So whether, it's
It's true.
it's playing in the big stage, Super Bowl,
Yeah,
and I think
yeah, yeah.
that helps us in our preparation in the things that we're
Yes, it
trying to
does.
do, right?
Very
Because
true.
if you're
Yes,
going into something and there's no nerves at all, you're not really doing anything that's that grand in my eyes, right?
I know
So
exactly what you mean. Yes, yes, that's
with you
true.
doing that and that whole experience, though, like
Yeah,
what are some of the greatest things that you learned or that you gained from that experience with
mm.
America's Got Talent?
I learned that say what you want, but validation is a very powerful thing. We don't go around seeking validation. We shouldn't do that. We
Mm,
should be sure of ourselves and confident in ourselves, and want to grow for ourselves. But at the end of the day, validation from um, people that matter,
mm,
is a big thing that keeps us going. And this you can define this however you want. For me, from my little sister telling me that she heard me sing, like I do a cover, and she's like, that was really good. These are people who hear me sing all the time. I'm literally always singing at home. My mom, my sister, it's not new to them. So whenever I get if one of them says something like, okay, that was really good, then that makes me feel like that was like even better than what they usually hear. And that makes me automatically feel like, oh man, this is like, we gotta post this. This is a surefire thing. Like, this is a great one.
mhm,
So getting that validation from them, even at this point in my life, when I'm talking about people that grew up with me and like hear me sing all the time, it still feels so good. And it's a huge confidence booster. That's just the truth. So I guess one thing I would say is that be careful where you're getting your validation from. Because if
mm,
it's someone, yeah, there are people who are looking to encourage you for real, and there are people who know that they have so much effect on how you feel about yourself that they can misuse it. And so you need to know who you're giving that power to. I have no problem giving that power to my mom, my sister, my dad, because I know that whether they say it's bad or good, they mean well. These are
right.
people who are never going to say something about my singing that is never going to come from a bad place or a place that's malicious. Another one's my friends. When I ask them for feedback on some stuff, if I want to make a post and it's a little controversial, I'm like, what do you guys think?
Mhm,
They're not going to just tell me, don't just be posting shit all the time. Like, they'll tell me, yeah, I don't know if you can do this. Consider your audience. Also be careful about this. I think you should just do it. I think it's fine. It goes with your brand. So I feel like, be careful who you give that power to. And I learned that on AGT. I say this because on AGT, I struggled a lot with where I was going to get my validation from with respect to my singing, because I was in a singing show that requires America and the judges to validate me in order to move me forward. And I had to check myself several times and understand, no matter what happens from here, just remember that it's a blessing, period, that you got this far at all. So I held on to that regardless of what they, and they being the judges and the other people who voted, regardless of what they say and how they feel, just remember that what matters is that you got here and you're even here in the first place. This is a blessing as it is. So I had to check myself several times to make sure I didn't take to heart things that the judges said that may not go with what I feel about my singing, or things that people may say in comments. I had to be careful about where I got my validation from. Why do I sing? Am I singing to make these people happy? Am I singing for their comments? Is that what am I posting for those comments? Like, is that what I rely on for everything when it comes to my brand? Or, am I singing, is the base reason why I'm singing my core, is it because I love it?
mhm.
Remind yourself why you do what you do. So I think that's one major thing. Be careful where you get your validation from. That's something I learned in the show for
Yeah, and that kind of wraps around to what you were saying about the support system because
sure.
truth hurts at sometimes, right? But you would
Yes, it
rather that
does.
truth come out as opposed to
Mm-hmm.
you thinking everything's all good and then boom,
Exactly.
right?
And then
Peace.
boom, you get out there and you realize it's not anything. Exactly.
Man,
Exactly.
so that's so true. That's so true. So, Ketchy, leave us with some words of encouragement. I know, I mean, your stories have been very, very impactful, and for those that
I'm
haven't
glad.
seen her story with America's Got Talent, you have to watch it because very moving. And I've been blessed to actually meet her and Ketchy, and everything she's saying. It's a beautiful soul. But I want you to leave us with some words of encouragement about dreaming big.
Okay. I want people to one thing I want people to understand, from my experience at least, is that the best things in life happen outside your comfort zone. And this is such uh an important way to think when you're dreaming big, because it's through those risks, and they're risks. Why they're risks? Because you don't know what's going to happen. It could go either way. you know Taking those risks, being brave enough to take that step out into the unknown. I think oftentimes those risks are the beginnings, the birth of grand things that we never saw coming or saw possible. America's Got Talent was a huge risk for me. It was something I'd never done. I'd never gone out there to sing competitive with my voice. I never conceived the idea that I would be on a stage like that. I didn't live my life dreaming to be on that stage because I just didn't even think about it. I just loved singing and that was it. But with the help of a friend, I was able to, I chose to put myself out there and just to see where it went. And it went to the most beautiful place. You know, it's the reason I'm even here right now doing this podcast. So the best things in life happen outside your comfort zone. And I know that risk is extremely scary because it's just so unpredictable. But, you know, if you're going to be scared either way, you might as well just be scared while you're doing it, not be scared of doing it, you know, because the fear is there regardless. You know, I feel, you know, when you're scared of doing it, you're just scared of doing it. But when you're doing it, it's still scary. I was still super scared singing on that stage, but at least now I know I did it as opposed to not, you know? So there's less regrets. So I want people to live with as little regrets as possible. So you got to step out your comfort zone. Yeah.
Love it, love it. And at the end of the day, right, if you're gonna risk and if you're gonna dream, might as well do it big. You might as well
Might as well.
jump out
You might
and,
as well.
might
Might
as
as
well.
well.
Might as well. Right. I don't know if I'm gonna be on the stage of America's Got Talent because I can't sing. But you know what? Like you said, right? Jump outside that comfort zone and I could probably pair some airs.
Wherever your comfort zone is, jump outside of it. It doesn't matter what your talent is. Yeah, it doesn't
But
matter.
Kechi, thank you once again for being on this My Dream Big Club podcast and
Yes.
for all the support that you've been giving us. You're a great inspiration to others, and I pray that you continue to use your platform and your voice to really impact many, many people.
Thank you so much, Sean. This has been fun. Thank you. I appreciate it.